Stars, Cars, Guitars. Coming up.
Every so often, there'd be a knock on the bedroom door, and it would come Rod with a cup of tea.
It doesn't matter who you are, Alex, you're going to get stick off the missus.
Yeah, but so-and-so's husband is not Tony Hadley.
It's stupid to think that if you're sitting next to Bruce Springsteen, you won't say, "Hello, Prince, I thought you were taller."
This is Stars, Cars, Guitars with Tony Hadley, Jim Cregan, and Alex Dyke.
It's back! It's Stars, Cars, Guitars, and here we are. A little bit different this time around, but hello, Tony Hadley, can you hear me? Hello, Jim Cregan.
I can, Alex. Jim, hello, mate.
Anyway, guys, look, the last time we were actually face-to-face properly was at the TV studios for our Christmas TV extravaganza. I hope you guys watched it.
I thought it was pretty good for our first sort of TV kind of venture. It was good. It seems like an age ago, though. So much has changed since then. But it was great having the guests in and everything, and playing a bit of music as well. That, for me, self and Jim on guitar there, playing a bit of music was great with Marty and Kim, and it was lovely. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. It was fun, considering it was made up on the back of a cigarette packet on a Tuesday afternoon. The script was non-existent. I love the fact that we just made it up as we went along. It kind of showed, but I really enjoyed myself, I must say. And for our first attempt, I thought it was great.
I think it was fun to do, and Kim Wilde and Marty Wilde were good enough to come along with Susie Quattro, and it was good to see you two playing together. And we ended the year. I don't know if you know this, Tone, but Jim and I have been talking. We ended the year in the Apple Podcast chart. Of course, we hit a high of number 2 in the late summer, and we're consistent in the top 10. But we ended the year being number 1 in Chile.
In Chile.
Yeah, I've got me tickets to Valparaiso. Here I come.
It's funny you should say that, because I do really well in Chile, and I'm sure you guys do too. But we go there every couple of years to do a couple of gigs, and they go absolutely bananas. And it's a great place. The food is amazing, as you can imagine. The food and stuff. And why did I just bring food into that? Well, that was unintentional. Sorry, but no, Chile's great. So number 1 in Chile, fantastic. I'm happy.
That explains it, Alex. That explains why we did number 1. But can you explain why the number 2 slot was the best trombone player in East Neasden? I couldn't understand that podcast.
No, I didn't get that. But Jim, you're right. Listen, Jim, it's the Tony factor. And I wanted to talk about this, but I didn't want to bring it up this early. But I'm going to now. Right, so when we met for the first time, all three of us together, back last summer, we had lunch in a pub in Winchester. And we were all kind of reacquainting ourselves. And I was talking to Tony, and I said, we're making small talk. And I said, me and my wife had just watched Broadchurch. And Tony says, oh, it's great. He said, I'm on to the second series. I said, I'm not going to do the second series because you've got to pay for that. It was like £3 an episode. Now, it's not like I'm tight, but the thing about it is it had already been on ITV. So to me, it didn't really have the worth of £3 an episode. So Tony says, well, me and my wife are loving it. So I get home and my wife said to me that night, look, are you going to pay for Broadchurch Series 2? And I said, no. I said, but Tony has. Oh, Tony, all right. So then Tony comes round. And, he's schmoozing and he's just Tony. He's lovely and he's tall and he's good looking and all of that. Then he says to my wife, then he says to my wife that how much he loves Christmas. Now, my wife is convinced that I hate Christmas. And I don't hate Christmas. I love Christmas. I just think sometimes Christmas is a lot of hassle. So all over Christmas, I had, well, Tony cooks. And didn't Tony's voice sound great on the Christmas TV special? And Tony loves Christmas. So we've now kind of got this elephant in the room that is Tony flaming Hadley at our house.
Can I just interject here, Alex, right? Can I just interject? Every wife says this to her husband. I get so much stick off of my missus. I'll get, the cooking thing, because I was on MasterChef, Celebrity MasterChef. I'm not a great cook. I was on there by default. I got kicked off early. Anyway, but every now and again, I go, oh, if I were you, I'd do it a bit like this. I wouldn't do it like that. And she looks at me like, oh, But I can't tell you how many times she said, oh, so-and-so's husband, he's cooking the dinner tonight. He's ever such a good cook. So-and-so's husband's done that. And I'm like, well, go and marry them then. It's like, so it doesn't matter who you are, Alex, you're going to get stick off the missus.
Yeah, but so-and-so's husband is not Tony Hadley.
That's Zara, by the way. She just walked in. Say hello, Zara.
Yeah, do you get my drift here, Jim? The other guy down the road is not Tony Hadley. And you know, Tony's been round here like you have a few times. He hasn't sung round here yet. If he sung round here, I wouldn't stand a chance. Back me up, Jim.
No, sorry. I've been round there. I didn't. Did she mention how great Jim was playing the guitar when he was sitting on the sofa? No, not a word. See, I can't win. You're just stuck with it, pal. Sorry.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be friends with good-looking blokes like Tony. That's your.
I think you're being far too generous. I wake up every morning just like everybody else. I look at that and I think, look at that nose, thin lips, floppy ears. Could start a tsunami. Those ears, I tell you. And no, I think there's this misapprehension that because if you're on the TV and stuff and you're reasonably famous, that all of a sudden you live in this wonderful little bubble where you go, hey, you know, like Ed Winchester, hey, great, brilliant. And it's not like that. It's the same stuff for everybody. I don't care who you are. So, you know, get the Hoover out, clean the place up. You know, I do love a Hoover, by the way, as you know. And, but no, I think we all get the same stick.
Well, it's funny, Jim, isn't it? Because I've been to yours, you've been round here, we've had dinner, Tony's come round, we've had lunch, rock and roll Tom. But have you noticed how Tony has kept you and me, Jim, away from Mrs. Hadley?
Yeah, not surprised. I'm a dangerous man. I might be old and wrinkly, but quite dangerous.
Well, I've heard about your stories, Jim, from the past.
I was talking about ordinary things going on in homes. There was a time many years ago when Rod Stewart was breaking up with his, I think it was Rachel Hunter. And he moved out of the house and he rented a big place up in Beverly Hills somewhere and lived there on his own with a housekeeper, and didn't like it at all. So I said to him, look, why don't you just come and stay with me for a while till you get back on your feet? So he stayed for about 4 months in my house. And I don't like getting up early in the morning, but he does. So every so often there'd be a knock on the bedroom door and he would come, Rod, with a cup of tea. And as he laid it down on the bedside table, he'd give me a shove and he'd say, I bet Elvis never did this.
Move over, darling.
That is a great story, Jim. Why have you never talked about that before?
So the hoovering, I mean, we used to cook dinner together and all that sort of stuff. So it was in terms of the business of whether you were traveling in a private jet or you're on the tube, there's essentially the same thing goes on. You've got a mate with you or not. So it's that old adage. It's not where you are, it's who you're with. It's always about who you're with. You know, so if you've got a happy home, whether it's a one-bedroom apartment or a mansion, it's the same ideal. You know, I don't believe that you can. And of course, the older I get, the more I realise that things that you own are not necessarily that permanent. You know, one of these days we're all going to be pushing up daisies, and and even though I'm taking my Strat with me, my son's probably going to dig me up to get his hands on it
because it'd be worth too much money.
Yeah.
I have to say, I think you're right. I mean, I've never been a very materialistic person anyway. And
can I move in?
I mean, I couldn't give a monkey's what car I'm driving or whatever. I've never been that much into, you know, I know with stars, cars and guitars, but I mean, there's been several incidents where, for instance, one of the families, you know, had a smash in the car. And the first thing I always say, are you all right? The kid's all right. Is that to me, that's what's important, not a lump of metal or anything.
No.
And then when I was younger, when just about kind of making it, and you know, in the early days of Spandau, and my mates were the same mates then as they are now. They're still the same. I spoke to our best pal just a couple of hours ago, Pete, and we're all still the same. And they kept me really grounded and family and everything else, because no matter what I was doing and appearing on Top of the Pops and flying all over the world, you're just one of the boys.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to remember.
Yes, it's hugely important. I think that some of the people who forget about that And I wonder, maybe Alex, maybe you would know, who would you think is the most, shall we say, separated from reality, the star that you can think of in our music business? I mean, one of my first examples would be Prince, who I think really disconnected himself from people deliberately. I remember going to the Grammys, and where he was sitting, he'd placed his security people had placed notices in all the chairs, and he was sitting in the celebrity section. I wasn't. I was just in the, where old songwriters sit, but around where he sat or was going to sit, they put notices on each chair immediately around him, behind and in front and beside him, saying, "You will be sitting next to the artist formerly known as Prince. Do not speak to him. Do not approach him. Do not acknowledge him. Leave him alone." Right? And I thought,
wow.
I thought, hang on a sec. You're there with your peers. This is not. This is stupid to think that if you're sitting next to Bruce Springsteen, you won't say, "Hello, Prince. I thought you were taller." So have you got any ideas? Or who do you think might be disconnected from reality in our
world? Out of the people that are living, the one I actually really, really admire, which is kind of the opposite to what you're asking, and I've only met him once, and it was very briefly, and it was through you, of course, was if anyone I think has had their cake and eaten it, it's Rod, because Rod has lived the superstar life. But he can go to the pubs with his mates. He doesn't seem to forget his old mates. He does seem to be really, really, he has time for his family. He adores his family, and he can be the rock star. And he seems to have got his feet on the ground. I wonder if Paul McCartney has been so famous for so long, 1962, if he even knows Paul might think he's fairly normal. We might think he's fairly normal, but for God's sake, he's a Beatle. They do say that wherever the Queen goes, she thinks the whole world smells of fresh paint because everything's been painted for her arrival. And I wonder if it's like that for Paul McCartney. And then you've got people like Elton, who, does he really now know what normal life is? Maybe he does. I don't know. The real big examples, of course, were Prince and Michael Jackson, but they're not around anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I've met Paul McCartney, and when he was going out with Heather Mills, it was Heather Mills, and she was having a birthday party down in Covent Garden, and I got invited along and stuff because someone who was great friends with Heather. And he was super cool. I have to say, everyone was just having a drink and a chat and everything else. And he was just, all right, Tony. I said, "Oh, Paul, lovely to meet you, mate." And it was just a really nice, easy conversation. And there were no security or anything like that. I think a lot of the time it's the person that's meeting the famous person that has the misconception, because I think obviously, if you're meeting someone like, I say Tom Jones, for instance, Sir Tom Jones, the person that's meeting him will get to a point where they'll get themselves into such a lather. I'm meeting Tom Jones. What's he going to be like? But Tom's just like, "Hello, how are you?" It's like just super cool. But the person that's meeting him, they've got all these kind of things going on in their head. So, yes, it's just a bit weird. Yeah.
I get that. And of course, you're always going to be on your best behavior, aren't you? If you are meeting someone, because if I was going to meet Paul McCartney, I wouldn't want to screw it up. So I would probably be overly on my best behavior. Even if I was trying not to be, I think I would, I don't know. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because all they want is for you to be normal. But it's very, very hard because as someone at the BBC said to me when we started this podcast, they said, what Jim and Tony might not realise is they've done extraordinary things in there. They've done things in their life which are so extraordinary to people who've never done them, and they've done them for so long they might take them for granted. So it's really important you get those great stories out. And because you guys have hung around with so many cool people and partied with so many cool people and enjoyed all of the success, that even though you've still got your old mate's tone, you haven't lived the same life as them.
No, he hasn't.
Okay, all right, I haven't. I just got to tell you, the most nervous I've ever been about meeting someone like super famous was I met the Queen. Wow. Oh, that was. And I mentioned Tom Jones, and Tom Jones said it on The Voice the other week. He said meeting the Queen was, I mean, I was taken into a little room, special room and everything. There was only about, 300 in the main room and about 25 people in the small ante room. And I'm thinking, I'm meeting the Queen. I said, don't cock this up, Tony. Don't say anything wrong, or is it mom? I was so nervous, I can't tell you. And she was so lovely. But as Tom said, I can't remember what she said. I was just too nervous. It was an amazing experience. And my mum, they took a picture of it. My mum was made up. She really was.
Oh, your mum went with you?
Oh no, she didn't, but she saw the picture.
Oh, sorry, because I was thinking fact that I was really wanted mum. That was the
fact that I was at Buck House and that. But my mum's been to Buckingham Palace as well. She's been with me and stuff. So it's kind of nice.
Stars, Cars, Guitars. Subscribe. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and starscarsguitars.co.uk.
Jim.
Yes.
Can I just say that Tone says he's not materialistic. All right. Okay. And he has got a nice motor. But look at that sofa he sat on, and look at those drapes behind him. It's like he's at Downton Abbey.
No, their scenery. He told me he was getting them put in.
I got that put in, and they're going to put the plants in next week. I'm going to get a load of plants put in, just special, just to dress it, to make it look nice.
They have to go back, those drapes.
Yeah, they're only on hire. They're only during COVID, I tell you, the way it's going at the moment, it might all have to go anyway.
Looks like you could make a very nice suit out of some of those curtains.
Well, I've had my fashion faux pas and my moments, so you never know.
Haven't we all? Gosh.
Right, guys, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Because we're at our homes now, I've got out my 2 most played vinyl albums. Okay. And I'm going to show you my 2 most played vinyl albums. And I want to know whether you enjoy vinyl. Because the crazy thing is that I tell people I love vinyl because in my heart I do. But I've seldom put a vinyl album on because every 17 minutes, you've got to get up and turn it over. And then after that 17 minutes, you've heard the damn thing. Now with Spotify, you can make a playlist that's a week long or whatever.
Yeah.
So here are my 2 favorite, most played vinyl albums. Here is the first one.
I knew it was going to be a Beatles record.
Abbey Road.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. So that is my first one. And my second one is this. Now, I don't think either of you would be familiar with this, but I'm telling you, Tone, you would love this album. It's Frank Sinatra.
Oh.
It's 1969. It's called A Man Alone. It's the music and words of Rod McEwen, the famous songwriter and poet. And this is, he made this shortly after My Way, and it flopped, but it's brilliant. And at least 3, maybe 4 of the tracks on it are only about a minute long, and they're spoken word tracks. It's a little dot, but this is an amazing album. And that is actually my most played, and The Beatles is actually my second most played album. So my question to you, first of all, Jim, is vinyl, do you indulge, and what is your most played vinyl album if you do?
The first answer is no, I don't indulge in vinyl. Unfortunately, during I think I'm going to have to use the word divorce, my vinyl collection fell on the wrong side of the line. I had 3,500 albums, and I was quite upset about that happening, and so I just quit on saving, saving anything. I don't collect anything really. I used to collect guitars. I don't do that anymore either. Although I have a couple I have about 15 guitars, but that's not what I would call collecting. Collecting is when you've got 60. So I don't collect anything, and then with the advent of Spotify and iTunes, I don't really listen to full albums anymore. As I know it's a terrible confession, I listen to tracks. And I would say probably right in the height of all that would be something like Stevie Wonder, Talking Book, something like that, or maybe Michael Jackson's Thriller, John Coltrane's My Favorite Things, Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. I've got a very eclectic taste, from Jimmy Reed and B.B. King and those kind of guys, all the way up to what I was working on yesterday.
Okay, so before we go to Tone, the Thriller was a bit of a curveball for me, coming from you. I don't know why, but it was. But you must have had some great albums, some first copy albums, and a lot of promo albums as well.
Yeah,
Do you occasionally, on a walk down to the shop, think, damn, that Little Feat album or that Rod Stewart promo album I haven't got it anymore. Why did I let them go? Is it a huge regret?
Well, not, I don't, yes, it's a disappointment. I can't really call it a regret. If I had all those albums from back in the day, from Django Reinhardt and people like that I really like, I can access everything with even just saying, hey, Google, play this on Spotify, and it plays in my house. So I kind of miss the beauty of a vinyl record, the holding it in your hand as you just did. I mean, there's something great about those gatefold sleeves and all the details of who did what and the liner notes and all that stuff. I love all that. But that's more of an art thing than it is a music thing. The music is available to me, 24/7. So, but I did. Okay, so I remember going when I was with Linda Lewis on an American tour. We were on Warner Brothers, and the rep took us into the promotion department and opened this door into this room where they had all the records they were promoting, and there were thousands and thousands of albums in there. And he said, "Just go in and help yourself." Well, I mean, God, it was like a Aladdin's cave. Wow. And I took away. I mean, because we were traveling by plane going home to England, so I couldn't. But I wasn't going to row the Atlantic like I know you've done. So I could only take maybe 60 albums, right? So that was as many as I could carry, probably, because they're quite heavy. And there was a lot of junk in there, but I discovered Little Feat, and that stayed with me till now. I mean, Little Feat are one of my favorite ever bands. So yes, the promo stuff had huge advantages. Being in the business and getting free stuff was great in those days. Now, there doesn't seem any need for it. Nobody gives you anything free, really, do they? Somebody give you a link to their album on YouTube or something. That's about it.
And what about you, Tone? I've never known you be so quiet for so long on a Stars, Cars, Guitars podcast. He's either been cut off or you actually said something interesting.
Well, no. I like listening to Jim because it goes back a little bit before me and stuff, and I love Jim's stories, and they're always I just could sit and listen to Jim. Could sit and listen to Jim for hours, mate. Kind of almost a similar thing. I've got quite a lot of my vinyl here. I've got a little music room where. Got the piano, I've got a picture of Frank Sinatra and Audrey Hepburn and Liza Minnelli looking over me when I'm trying to put me weird chords together. And my record player is similar. Is at my ex-wife Leonie's place, and she's actually clearing out the attic as we speak. And I've got to go down and pick up all my vinyl, but also my record player. I've got this amazing. British-made Nitec amp, Lindeck, Ackroyd speakers. It's an amazing system. So hopefully it will still work. And then I really, really, really want to get into sitting on a sofa and just putting on a classic album. I really, really want to do that because, I'm with you guys, Spotify, downloading, streaming, everything. It's amazing. It's incredible. It's changed our lives. But to actually do what we used to do, and listen to a piece of music, whether it be, I love, I don't know a lot about classical, but sometimes I like just put on a classical album, and it just puts you in a lovely frame of mind, or you want to put the Beatles in, or a punk record, or even, people like Sam Fender, a young new artist who's, I think, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, but so I've got to rescue my collection.
And what do you think would be, Tone, your most played, or a couple of your most played albums, if you've got that record player in your living room now?
Well, I have to say my first double album was Goodbye Yellow Brick Road by Elton John. That was the first double album I bought with my own pocket money. And I played that so many times. I mean, but my musical tastes vary from, Queen, Bebop Deluxe, Elton, Rod, through to punk, through to, classical, through to modern stuff. I mean, I listen to everything as much as possible. And with the radio station on BBC Three Counties, 10 to 12 on a Sunday morning, don't you know? It's nice. I just had to put that in. Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant because we get all these new artists coming in, and then we do BBC Music, as you do, Alex, BBC Music Introducing. Yeah. And some of the new artists that are coming through are really good, really, really good. So I want to get to that point where I can sit down and properly listen to music and not necessarily do the hoovering.
As I've kind of alluded to by listening to a smart speaker like Alexa, and as Jim's already said, I listen to tracks. Isn't the music industry now about songs more than ever, which may be a good thing, and is, dare I say it, the album dead?
Well, the thing is, though, Alex, is that you used to be, Martha, shush. That's the dog. Anyway, so it used to be that you were into, like, say you're into David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust, and then you had the punk, that kind of hairdo, and I dyed my hair sort of auburn coloured, and then you were into punk. And so each kind of music had an outfit to go with it as well, and you got into that whole complete scene. And that doesn't really exist, that whole, that whole youth thing, the mods, the rockers, the skins, the glam, punk, it doesn't, that kind of fashion music thing doesn't really exist anymore. We just download tracks and we just wear what we wear, but there's not sort of a musical stroke fashion movement. And it's a shame.
Music doesn't drive fashion as much as it used to.
No, not at all.
Okay, that's an interesting question. I don't know if I'm not of an age where I would know that particularly. Well, I mean, I have a 15-year-old daughter, but even though she loves music, she doesn't equate whatever the people she's listening to, what they're wearing, into what she's wearing. She doesn't want to mimic them. But there probably are kids that do want to mimic whoever their stars are. I mean, I think maybe Ed Sheeran's had an enormous influence on everybody, because I see a lot of people in jeans and T-shirts.
Listen, guys, we've got to begin to wrap this one up now, and we
I just got started.
I know, but we can do another one next week. But look, we haven't even said hello properly to Rock and Roll Tom, producer Rock and Roll Tom. Is there anything Tom, you want to pick up on, and can you tell people how and why they should subscribe? Because I hate doing that bit, and take it away, Rock and Roll Tom.
Okay, so here's what you do. If you're listening to us on a podcast provider, you can review us there, you can like us there, you can subscribe, which means you get the podcast first. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can ding the bell, you can subscribe to our channel, and you can comment as well. Please review us, please share us. If you like this show and you know somebody who would like this show, recommend us to them, because we double our audience overnight, and we'd love to double our audience every day.
Thank you very much, Tom, and I've got something for you in the next exciting edition of Cars, Stars. Hang on, is it Stars, Cars? What is it? Oh, I'm like Rod Stewart on that. Tom, show on the promo with Rod Stewart when he screws it up. We'll see you next time, guys. Tone, Jim, love you.
Good to see you.
This is Rod Stewart. Of course it's bleeding Rod Stewart. I've just been made aware by my good friend Jim Cregan, there is a podcast called Guitars, Stars and Cars.
No!
Oh, what is it? Guitars?
No, Stars, Cars and Guitars.
Stars?
Cars.
Guitars.
No.
Right, this is, okay. Yeah!
Stars, Cars, Guitars was produced by Tom Stroud.